Welcome to the I Hate Critics Movie Review Podcast. I'm professional film critic Sean Patrick. Hi, Jeff.
Hello, Jonathan.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for being here.
Why? Because I was gone last week?
Well, that, and we could all be dead by this
Yeah,
point
well,
next week. So.
we are recording this on the last night on Earth, apparently. If you're watching Twitter right now, apparently.
Well, the
But
upside is I won't have to see an MMA movie.
oh, hey, there's that. But no, it was all to manipulate Kalshi, the app. You're going to find out tomorrow that the app Kalshi, which allows you to bet on real world events, millions upon millions of dollars will have moved just before Donald Trump announced that he's not dropping any bomb.
Oh yeah, that's
that shouldn't surprise people, but I'm guaranteeing you right now, some people are hearing this going, "Wait, what?" Also, how can I get into this Kalshi thing? Don't. It's evil, and the people behind it are evil, and they're basically just money laundering right in your face.
Yep. I listened to something on NPR last week about it, and basically how the administration is betting all this stuff, and they're tracking these bets. Like there are people who are out there able to track these bets and general locations and what they're betting on based on what who is talking shit about. So
Yep.
yeah, this whole it's just a grift, and if you still support it, you're a fucking moron or a grifter. So
yeah. Meanwhile, he's fucking with people's actual lives and just making people unsafe. I mean, it's so disgusting at this point. It's hard even to think about it. But it's hard to think about movies also when we're also wrestling with this idiot potentially ending the world because he's that arrogant.
Yep.
And if you don't know who I'm talking about, I don't care.
Yeah,
It should be obvious by now.
Orange Voldemort.
Movie news. Found out today, actually, of course, because it's Apple TV, Jeff. Apple TV is just the single worst movie company in the world. They don't bother to tell people that they have movies coming out. So I had to just trip over the fact that they have a brand new movie directed by Jonah Hill, starring Keanu Reeves, and with an all-star cast that has a really grabby premise, and no one knows this movie's coming out on Friday.
Why would they? Why would they tell us?
It's called Outcome, and the premise is really cool. It's Keanu Reeves playing a movie star, obviously not himself, but he's about to embark on an apology tour. He thought he'd gotten away with his kind of secret foible, but then somebody leaked a video of him doing the thing that he's been accused of, and he's forced to go on an apology tour that also doubles as him interviewing his family, friends, and colleagues as to who might hate him enough to have told this secret that he really thought he'd gotten away with. Really clever premise, of course, very modern premise as well. And Jonah Hill is a really interesting director. He does interesting work behind the camera, and I'm interested. I'm very excited to see this, which is a real shame because again, it's Apple TV. They're not going to tell anybody this is out there. You'll only know because you listen to this show.
Oh yeah, I feel like that's going to be a running theme for the rest of the year. Not movies that are actually good or good premise that are not getting any sort of push whatsoever from the studios they come from. We will be talking about one of them tonight.
Like Exit 8, because nobody knows what Exit 8 is, but it's going to be in theaters on Friday.
Right?
Or Faces of Death. I had no idea what Faces of Death was until this afternoon.
Oh.
I mean, I'm familiar, of course, with the original Faces of Death from the 70s and 80s. Friends and I used to just rent those constantly just to try and find a new person to traumatize. Because some of the things about Faces of Death were actually real. Like sometimes they actually showed real death on screen as opposed to, but they also made up a bunch of stuff. The one of the most famous. They did this. They were supposedly uh, waterboarding a monkey or something, or like they were dripping water on a monkey's head as a form of torture, and that was faked. It was not real. And over time, like a number of the things that Faces of Death presented have been debunked, but many of them haven't, and have proven to be like real death on the screen, which is quite strange and rather remarkable.
Yeah, I know that I mean it's pretty much been widely known for since the internet that pretty much all the stuff in that was faked, decent special effects. But then somebody told me that basically it's like watching rotten.com back in the
Mhm.
late 90s where there was some stuff that they just got footage of. And yeah, I don't know. I watched it. Well, I watched all like the first three of them and no idea if they were real or not. So
Really, only Gen X people can watch these and come away unscathed because we're capable at laughing at just about anything.
yeah. And the monkey was they were eating the brain. They they put it under the table and chipped away at its brain and ate it alive, I think, if I
Mhm.
remember correctly.
That was faked. The monkey bit was faked.
Oh
Most
yeah,
of it is
yeah,
faked, but
yeah.
not all of it, but most of it. I'll tell you what, if you want to see something that's not faked, the documentary "The Killing of America" is one of the most incredible things I've ever seen, and that is not fake. Everything you see in that movie is real because the directors in 1983, I think it was, or 81, 81, 82, something like that. He made a documentary about gun violence in America, and to really put it home, he showed actual gun deaths because he wanted people to understand this is the result of America's gun culture, and he did this in the early 1980s, which I think makes it that much more remarkable that it just made almost zero impact.
Well, this country loves its guns more than it loves its human beings. So
That's true. That's very, very, very unfortunately true. Meanwhile, of course, they also love Super Mario Galaxy, which made $400 million or something over the weekend. I uh, I was having a hard time getting to the other new movie this weekend, which we'll get to, because I kept arriving and like not being able to get service because there were just lines upon lines of people lined up for this fucking Mario movie. I
oh,
I don't get it. I don't. I'm so glad. First of all, just thankful to my boss that I don't have to watch kids movies anymore. Like there's just no bother, and I don't get paid to cover them. I could get maybe like I can get paid on the other end, for fees of people clicking on it. But I mean, nobody ever clicked on kids' movies to begin. That's why I don't. That's why I don't get a down payment on
yeah, I'm glad that we don't have to do them for the show because it's just not interesting to me.
them. It seems
I
like it's
listen.
been for, and maybe it's just because I've turned 50 and maybe I just don't have it in me anymore. But like, it just doesn't feel like there's been any great animated movies in the past few years. I mean, even as I was like being weaned off of the beat of kids movies, like even Pixar was falling off.
Yeah. There's a movie podcast that I listen to and they have a whole video game series and I if it's something I haven't seen or if it's not um a live action version of something, I'm not I'm not going to watch it. Sorry.
Yeah, it did huge, huge business though. But everything seems to be doing big business. The box office is back, Jeff.
Is the box office back?
We're so back. Uh, I mean, even our only other new movie this week did well. Did better than people perhaps expected. It over $28 million worldwide and $14 million domestic, making it the third biggest opening in the history of A24.
Oh wow. Well, I guess
Do
we
we
need
want to get
to.
into that one now, or do we want to circle back to last week's movies first?
It's up to you. I'm perfectly fine with either way. I just saw that today, so that's probably fresh.
Well, let's talk about then the drama starring Robert Pattinson and Zendaya. And warning, you should go into this movie blind. The director, he advised you to they went out of their way to keep the main thrust of this movie, the driving force of the drama, off the trailers and off the internet as much as possible. They even many critics, myself included, don't mention what the central conflict is because it's a key part of seeing the movie. But we will be spoiling it here because we can't have a conversation without it. Um, so the drama again, it's Robert Pattinson and Zendaya. They're a couple who meets cute in a very awkward way, in which Robert Pattinson tries flirting with her and ends up talking into her deaf ear. Luckily, she's very cute about it and gives him a second chance, and they go on to develop a relationship that's on its way to marriage. And we learn this because that's what he talks about that in preparing his wedding speech. And that's how we hear about how they met and the various parts of their relationship leading up to them deciding to get married. Zendaya, she has become such a part of his friend group that she's even taken one of his friends as her maid of honor. Alana Haim plays Rachel in the movie. Mamadou Athie plays his best friend and her and Rachel's husband. And Rachel is the one who drives essentially or gets the plot started and then kind of really kicks things into gear. They're having a conversation about the worst things that they've ever done, and Zendaya, when it comes to her turn to share a secret, she shares something very deep and very personal, and it blows up everything. and
Hmm.
this is Jeff is one of is a throwback to those movies of the 80s and 90s that were essentially what would you do in this situation. It's a movie, the movies like Fatal Attraction or Indecent Proposal, not in terms of lasciviousness or grossness, but in terms of just
Hmm.
challenging the audience to put yourself in the shoes of these characters in a more direct fashion. Disclosure kind of is a similar idea. What would you do in this situation? In this case, Zendaya's secret is that she, as a child, as a teenager, she planned a school shooting. She had planned it out that she intended to go through with it, but didn't after another shooting occurred nearby. And she kind of had this realization that, this is probably not something to do. Um, and this causes a huge rift. Rachel happens to have a family member who was a victim in a mass shooting, and she doesn't take kindly to this being, something that her supposed friend had planned to do, and it causes Robert Pattinson's character to Charlie to look at her differently, to see her in an entirely different light. She goes from being just kind of quirky and funny and sweet to being there's a little bit of an edge to her now that she didn't have before, and it kind of makes him wonder if this is what he wants. Does he want to be married to her, knowing this, and can he marry her and live the rest of his life with her, knowing this? And there's a generational divide on this, that I think, because I think people who are younger, who grew up under the specter of gun violence, have a different perspective on it than people who, like myself, who we didn't necessarily grow up under this threat, and so it can seem a little bit different to us. I think the younger generation is a little bit more sensitive to this idea, and I think that drives the drama of this in a more realistic way if you can look at it from the perspective of a generation that grew up under the gun. And in that way, I was kind of impressed with this movie, and I do really like this actually.
Yeah, I what you just said about generational is maybe why I just kept thinking how pissed off I was at everybody for most of the movie because it's like, you know, she obviously went out of her way to not do this. she didn't do it. That's the thing.
Uh-huh.
That was
Right. That's the important part, is that she did not do this.
she did not do it, and she chose not to do it for the all the right reasons. Like she realized what her actions would do, and um she kind of fell into the trap that I think a lot of mass shooters do, in that they, it's the more you talk about it, the more it happens, especially among young people, because they see it as their only way out. And
Mhm.
she kind of, that was her character arc as a teenager, and especially because the one girl was just like so bad to her, and she didn't see a way to get out of it. And she saw these other mass shootings and thought, well, hey, that's one way to do it, and I might, maybe I'll be so people will pay attention to me, because it seems like her parents didn't know what was going on. Her parents never paid any attention to her, and she just wanted some attention.
Yeah.
Um, and any attention is good attention when you're that age. Um, and I felt like she made the right choice. She atoned for it the rest of her life. She found her group when she was a kid, and people, she realized that everybody was kind of hurting, and it wasn't just her, but they she found a place, and that was the most important part. And to be perfectly frank, Rachel was a fucking bitch, and I get it. I get why
Uh-huh.
why she was so upset, but she was so unsympathetic. Complete, everybody else was trying to wrestle with, um, what their part in it was, and I mean, it definitely becomes, I think, about 2/3 of the way in, it's a super, super dark, 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 dark comedy.
Right.
Um, and I, I feel like, for me, the first part of it was like nobody listens to black women, and that's a kind of a running theme in the world today. Like we talked about, who earlier, and how we wouldn't have to do that. We wouldn't be in this position if people had just like listened to a black woman. You know what I mean? And she's trying to give her truth, and nobody wants to hear it. And from like the time she was a kid, she's trying to be a part of the world and trying to tell people how she feels, and they really just don't want to hear it. They don't listen to her, and then all of this entire drama happens because nobody listens to her. They hear one thing, and that's all they think about. And then, you know, you're I I watched this with the intention, the first kind of 2/3 of the way through, that I was sympathizing, and it was about her. And it's really about him, because, it's a Hollywood movie, and it's written and directed by a man, so it has to be male centered, even though Zendaya is the bigger star. Um, and then it becomes like how he's going to handle it, and she becomes a secondary character throughout the whole thing. Even though she's in almost every scene, it's just about him and how he's handling things, and he fails to be the he fails to be the voice of reason to his friends. Instead,
Mhm.
he's just like, how can I deal with this? How does this affect me? That's kind of where it lost me for a little while. And then at the end, it becomes kind of a farce. And like you were talking about the 80s and 90s romantic comedies, almost, where nobody listens to each other. No, it's just one misunderstanding after another, and hilarity ensues. You know what I mean? And not hilarity, but I think they're kind of aiming for hilarity
No, I
with
think I
the
think Fatal Attraction's a comedy, but I don't think it
yeah.
intends to be.
But it's just, it totally, it kind of goes back and forth. Um, and I know a lot of people were upset that it wasn't the romantic comedy that the trailer made it out to be. I didn't get romantic comedy from the trailer at all. I got, that
No,
there
I
was
get
something seriously wrong in this relationship. I just didn't know what.
right.
So
And your mind immediately, when you're thinking about what this could be about, you think about there's got to be like a cheating thing, or you maybe they like. My thought initially was like maybe they had a drunken three way with someone, and now they're
mhm.
kind of questioning who they are and who they are to each other, and like that could be. Yeah, I think I've seen something similar to that before. And this is such a creative idea. It's such a bold idea because trying to build your entire movie around this is not an easy choice. Because a lot of the audience is just gonna, once they hear about it, they're just gonna fold their arms and go, "Why is everybody being so mean to her? She didn't actually do it." Like
Yeah.
I think that's the majority of people who are older, like ourselves. Like for a minute, I was like, "Wait a minute, like." Isn't everybody overreacting? She didn't actually do it. And then I heard somebody said something to me afterwards, and it kind of hit me like, oh, you know what? If I had grown up under the threat of school shootings the way so many kids today have, like we didn't have my when I was in school, we didn't have mass shooting drills. We didn't have to run out of the school
We had
on a
nuclear war drills.
yeah. I I was a little young for duck and cover, but yeah. Did you actually get a duck and cover?
Oh my God. All every like 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah, like
I
twice a year. And whenever there was any sort of escalation in the Cold War, we had
mm,
to do duck and cover drills. Um, and then don't forget, like when we were young, the movie The Day After came out,
yeah.
and that was a big fucking deal. Well, it was on TV, and that was even worse. My parents wouldn't even let me watch it. So
Yeah, no, I was like 6, so I had no awareness of it whatsoever. And I don't recall many duck and covers.
mhm.
But I was like I said, that you were a little bit older and so a little bit more aware than I was.
Yeah,
But yeah, we didn't. But the point is that we weren't worried about somebody showing up to school with a gun. If anything, we saw people show up to school with guns just about every day, and nobody shot anybody because we
yeah,
went to an incredibly rural high school with like where gun racks were just kind of a thing. Like that's just somebody's
yeah.
yeah, somebody's got a gun right outside the school if they want one.
Well, in our high
It's not like
school,
we
like
had teachers who had who had gun racks.
there was one kid who had a gun rack, and it was for three guns, and he had three guns on the gun rack, and nobody stole it because that was, it was just how we grew up, and everybody just
Yeah.
assumed that. I don't know. It was so I get that people might be upset at this movie if or at the situation if they grew up during
Mhm.
that. I get that, but I was just I'm maybe it's just my age and how I don't really even care for romantic comedies most of the time when it's the one misunderstanding leads to everything. And
Mhm.
I think having seen so many movies and that premise just played out so much that to me it's kind of like, oh, can we do something different? You know what I mean? Um, but again, that being said, there are some really good performances in this movie. There are some really good, um, characters. And even though Rachel was a fucking c word, um, I can see where she would be upset. But I do think that there comes a point when when he's talking to her and Mike and trying to explain what his perspective is on the woman that he loves, and they're like, she's just absolutely 100% adamant that this is not forgivable. um at that point, you get to it where I would have just said, you know what, I don't want to be a part of your wedding. I'm not your, and I wouldn't have gone if I had that many um objections to who you are.
Mhm.
That kind of, I was like, why is she even in the wedding if she's You know, if she hates this girl so much, why is she in the wedding? And um, it's 15 years in the past, and how does that? Nobody is the same person they were at 15, and if they are, they're living where we live. Um, you know what I mean? It was just like,
Right.
think of all this stuff that's happened to you, even in the last. You're 50, and I'm 54. We're old, but think of all the stuff that has happened to us just in the last 15 years as adults, much less before our prefrontal cortexes have matured.
Uh-huh.
You know, and it's just, how can you like continue to blame her for this? And that's the part that really just, you know, for all the doubts that Robert Pattinson is having in this movie, he should have just broken up with her. Um,
Perhaps.
you know,
I think that
made a
I think
clean break.
there's something interesting though in the idea of like being able to find like what can you find out about somebody after you've been together to the point where you're about to get married and then you find out something about them you didn't know before that could, you know, change the entire way you see them and kind of reframe moments of your relationship. Like he starts flashing around to these memories of their relationship where she was trying to get a little bit like aggressive in the bedroom, and he's like, "Wait a minute,"
Yeah.
and like he's flashing back, like he has this mug with a gun on it, and he throws it out. Like,
Hmm.
again, none of this is her fault. This is all his, like, various anxieties, but I loved the way that Pattinson presented those anxieties. It made his weirdness feel real to me, and I did understand the conflict. He felt like he had a genuine conflict going on, even as, initially I was fighting the idea, thinking everybody was overreacting.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, you know, Christopher Borgley, just between this and Dream Scenario, I just really I like his stuff. I like how he, you know, comes up with these off the wall premises and kind of runs with them.
Mhm.
Um, you know, whether I think some of his character motivations were great or not in this one, I think that, you know, it's such an interesting concept that I hope people are going into it and going into it blind. Um, and I'm glad to see it's doing well because,
Yeah. I mean, usually, you know, a story like this usually hinges on like, oh, I cheated or I, you know, some sexual thing or I flirted with somebody, that kind of thing. And then that's a very kind of typical and relatively easy way to go. And he doesn't
yeah,
go easy. This is not an easy way to
no,
go. There is infidelity to a point, but not in the way you think it is. That comes out of nowhere in a really great scene, really great couple scenes actually that I thought was really very well handled. Um, this movie's just got a lot of balls to it, and I really appreciated that.
yeah, agreed.
So yeah, we're recommending the drama, but will we recommend
Oh,
They Will
before, I gotta tell you this because I just remembered when I saw the trailer, my immediate thought was they are doing this as part of a scripted reality thing.
Uh-huh.
And then the first 10 minutes of the movie, I was convinced that's what it was. And that's why it was called the drama, because he kept looking and people were watching him everywhere. And then he was watching stuff and weird stuff started to happen, like when they mistook the wedding DJ for a crackhead. Um, I was like, oh, okay, so they are being filmed again, and she doesn't know it, and he knows it. That's what I thought. And then
Hmm.
it took that whole turn, and I was like, oh, okay. Although I think that would have been a really interesting movie too. So, all right, so they will kill you.
Yes, They Will Kill You.
Sorry, sorry.
No, it's all right. It's all right. Starring Zazie Beetz among an all-star cast, really. And in the story of a woman who's who escaped from an abusive father, disappeared for 10 years, got arrested, went to jail, learned how to become a fighter, and she goes back to look for her little sister, who she had to leave behind with their abusive father. She finds her via a private detective who's located her at her new job, working as a maid in this ancient apartment building, and this apartment building has a lot of secrets to it. Zazie Beetz ends up getting herself a job there in order to get inside to find her sister, but of course, she's not really a maid, and she's not there to clean anything. She's there to,
Mhm.
well, in the end, kill people. This movie's great, Jeff. I think this movie is
Yeah.
fantastic. This movie is ridiculously violent. It is just completely off the wall. There's nothing that is off limits in this movie. Heads are blown off and grow back. Just ridiculous body horror going on, and a performance by Patricia Arquette that is one of the best of her career in this I don't know, what do you want to say, this it's a villainous role, obviously, but it's almost like she's almost like a professional, like a boss, like she's running a business here, and this all of this failing to kill Zazie Beetz is getting in the way of her efficiency.
Yeah, yeah. I I had so much fun in this, and the thing that what what bugs me about it, about the fact that I had such a good time, is I had such a good time with something that was very similarly plotted the week before, and that was Ready or
Uh-huh.
Not, Here I Come. They both revolve around devil cults and running for your lives with people who are trying to kill you for their own nefarious purposes. And I absolutely love both of them. And this one was so, if it hadn't come out so close to Ready or Not, I would be talking about like how it is one of the most original ideas that I've seen in a horror movie in a while.
Uh-huh.
Um, and it's still, I mean, it still is. It's funny and smart and one of those movies that just makes you say, "What the fuck?" A lot, a
Yeah.
lot. Um, and I think that when when we find out why Zazie Beetz is actually there and how she got there, and that her sister is not what she seems, you're kind of like, "Oh fuck, yeah, oh shit." Um, you know, how did how do we get out of this one? Because there's no real good guys in this movie. They're all,
It yeah.
varying degrees of flawed.
Who whoever thought to put this out the week after Ready or Not 2 is just needs to be smacked around. Like, this is a
Yeah.
movie that should have been held for Halloween or something, just to
Mhm.
give it some room, and that would have been actually a really perfect time to release this movie. But they released it a week after Ready or Not had already kind of come out and not performed well, and then this one comes out and doesn't perform well as also because it's a similar premise. This is not really the moment for a movie like this. And whoever decided to release it just was not reading the room.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
it doesn't take away from the fact that this is a terrific movie. That it's just an intense amount of fun. But when there's actual, like, doom and gloom going around, maybe a movie about repeated beheadings is not exactly the movie that is going to resonate in this moment. Perhaps it's going to be, a Mario movie.
Right?
I think I just explained why Mario's so big. Um, this is, but again, like Zazie Beetz is just so fantastic. She's just so great. She was the one good thing about Joker. She was incredible in Deadpool 2, and she just doesn't get enough work. She deserved to be a leading lady. She deserved to be out front of a movie, and this she deserved to have this movie be successful with her because she's great in it. She holds the screen. She's a badass. She's also facing off against villains who are just about unkillable. The the repeated ways that she violates these people is just hysterical. And then they grow back their heads, their arms. It's so
I don't
gross and
I
disgusting.
I don't know if you heard me when Heather Graham's head started to grow back and it was tiny. That was probably my biggest laugh in the last year after Megan 2.0. I just like that when she's walking around with a tiny head, and I'm like, that was great.
Yeah, that and the reaction of one of her co-stars when he sees her
Yeah.
is so great. Ah, what happened to you? After the repeated horrors that they've already seen. And the movie still is going to get even more gross as it goes towards the ending,
Hmm.
which is just fantastic. Like I said, this is a kind of movie that you're worried it's going to paint itself into too many corners. Like at a moment, there's a Zazie Beetz gets an injury in the movie, and I'm like, oh, they're really stacking the deck now. Like, how is that?
Yeah.
That's not even a survivable injury, but they come around and make you not care about that because they find different ways to paint themselves into corners and then get out of it in
Yeah.
the most clever, slightly forced way, but still clever enough that I didn't mind. Um, the
I actually thought
I
about
I
you.
was willing to jump with them on that final little twist.
Actually thought about you in that moment because we've had that discussion many times about movies that give their protagonist a an unsurvivable kind of wound or something,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Oh yeah, the show lore for people who've been around here a long time. You recall the movie Lone Survivor, which we basically called the Monty Python's Black Knight of movies because all of those characters suffer just like they break every bone in their body and they still walk out of the forest because they're badass soldiers. And it's like, no, no, doesn't work.
yeah.
No, but Bob and I think we carried on about that for weeks afterwards.
Oh.
We talked about that movie far more than any other, further than anybody's ever talked about that movie.
Kind of like us, or kind of like me talking about Megan 2.0.
That one's never going away. That is we're gonna choose we're go- we're, we're gonna be the champions of Megan 2.0 forever
Yeah. Oh my god,
until
it's
we
so
get that
great.
Megan sequel. We'll shut up about it when you give us Megan
Mm,
3.
yep. And you got to think of a song moment for Megan 3.0.
It's got to be a musical now. There's no,
Oh,
and if you can work in Zazie Beats, even better. Uh,
right?
She is fantastic. Like her physicality, the fight scenes, the choreography is impeccable. There's this great scene where she's in the dark in like a ballroom area and she's fighting with she's got an axe with a flame on it.
Mhm.
She lit an axe on fire, essentially like tied a rag to it and lit that on fire. And that's how she can see and also how she's killing people. And it's just like I've never seen that before. Fan fucking tastic.
Oh, that's so good. Like, put her and Sarah Michelle Gellar in a Megan sequel. Perfect.
Oh man. Yeah. Get on it. Get Megan back. We'll stop
So,
talking about it.
right? Um, a movie that I saw that you did not get to see, which I don't think you missed out on a lot in
Mm,
certain ways, is Forbidden Fruits. Um, it's now we picked our classic after we saw They Will Kill You,
mhm.
and I almost and I'm glad I didn't change it because you didn't get to see this one, but um this is like Gen Z Heathers.
Really?
Um yeah, it's and it not in a bad way, not in a great way, but still it was so Lola Tongue plays Pumpkin, who gets a job at a store led by the fruits apple, cherry, and fig. And she calls herself Pumpkin. and she gets a job at the store, and they've been there forever, and they're a little perfect little clique who walk around like, Regina George and her friends, or the Heathers. um and to kind of boil it all down, they're witches, and they create these scenarios in their head and then turn against people and hex them. And uh, there's a lot of bloodshed. There's a lot of um, angst, like early 20s angst, and there's a lot of weird nudity in this movie.
Hmm.
Um, just like random nudity. Um, and they have a boss played by Gabrielle Union, who is unseen in the movie, just her hands, but you hear her voice. And
That's a weird choice.
well, yeah, and it does at the end, after you know most people are dead, uh and Apple kind of escapes any sort of accountability and moves on to another store where she is the pumpkin of the group. Then it comes out that Gabrielle Union is actually a police officer who has been tracking Apple across the state of Texas, um, and she believes that she is just a serial killer. This movie is clever, but a mess. It's based on a play, um, and it's kind of like if Heather's and The Craft kind of made a movie together,
Mm.
and it's not.
That sounds exactly like the pitch meeting.
Yeah, and it's not. It's interesting premise, but the way that it is carried out, and the performances are kind of all over the place. Um, when Pumpkin comes in and is like, "Oh yeah, you guys are just being performative and all that," and then they have to, are we going to take each other out, or are we going to take her out? And Apple is that alpha, and she decides that everybody's got to go except for her. And in various ways, this happens, but it's not necessarily really funny, and it's
Hmm.
not necessarily dramatic or bad. It's just so uneven, and I really wanted to like this movie, but it's just not great.
Yeah, see, the great thing about Heather's and The Craft really is that they're both very funny. They both have a strong sense of humor.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
Heather's is just one of the funniest movies ever made, and then and The Craft is underrated in that way. That it does have a pretty strong sense of humor. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It establishes a tone that makes sense. And if you can't establish that tone, where you're balancing kind of the good versus evil thing, and the witches are silly versus witches need to be taken seriously in
Mhm.
this universe. If you can't find that balance, it's not going to work.
Yeah, then there are some good moments in it. One of the characters is like, "Are we still best friends?" And Apple's like, "I don't believe in hierarchy in female relationships." And it's like, yeah, there's some sisterhood moments in it, but maybe it's just not for me. But I just kind of I did get up and go to the bathroom, and I try not to do that in a movie that is not really long.
Hmm.
Um, and I just kind of went to get a refill of my soda, and was just kind of bored. Um, it just, it wasn't like a biting satire
Yeah.
like Heather's was. It wasn't, particularly scary or anything like that. Um, it was it was stylish, but not more style than substance. Let's put it
Mm,
that way. So I think you
fair
dodged a
enough.
bullet.
Meanwhile, I saw the AI movie, How I Became an Apocalyptimist. And this is a strange one. A director of documentaries, the guy who directed Navalny and went on to Academy Award level success, is directing this, and he's about to have a baby with his wife, who is the narrator of the movie. She's also a documentary filmmaker, and uh, he's concerned about bringing a baby into the world where AI is transforming things so quickly, and is AI good or bad? And so he decides to pursue that question, but he pursues it in a way that to me doesn't really make a lot of sense, because everyone he talks to is someone who has a stake in AI. Whether it's somebody who's apocalyptic, AI is going to kill us all, or if it's somebody who is, like Sam Altman's in this movie, like uh they all have a stake in AI. They all have something that they stand to lose if AI doesn't work out. And that to me feels like a strange way to approach a movie about AI. He does talk to supposed skeptics, but they're all skeptics whose job it is to write about AI. Like if AI didn't exist, these people don't have a job. Um, Meanwhile, there are plenty of people out there you could talk to that could give you a realistic perspective on AI. Like Angela Collier is a physicist on YouTube who's just an absolute genius, and she's actually made the far better version of this, where she basically just says AI doesn't exist. and and in many ways AI actually doesn't exist. A lot of it is just what these people promise AI is going to be.
Yeah.
People like Sam Altman say, well, if AI is going to solve the climate crisis, and then you go, well, how's it going to do that? Well, we're just going to ask it to, and then it'll figure it out. And by that time, we don't know when that'll be, or there's no plan for any infrastructure around that, which is something
Hmm.
Angela Collier points out, is that like these guys always talk about this thing called down the stack, where they talk about what AI is going to be capable of, and they say, well, how's it going to do that? Who's going to carry that out? Is that your company? Well, it's down the stack, which means that somebody is working on it somewhere, and we'll all
Yeah.
take advantage of it when they figure it out. And that's basically everything that these AI guys have promised us is down the stack, which is not in this movie. That's in Angela's own documentary. This guy just keeps treating AI like it's a real thing, and how it's going to change the world for better or worse. And it's a balance between what's good and what's bad about it. And I refuse to actually just take that as a premise. We've got an AI bubble that is about to send, about to have worldwide implications on the economy, because they can't figure out how to monetize AI. They don't know how to make the money from it that they're already spending. Like they're all like
Yeah.
buying up these spaces for data centers for a thing that doesn't have like an actual purpose, that doesn't have an actual like thing a physical thing that somebody can sell you, is a foolish business thing. And they've all been rushing headlong into wasting their money building more and more data centers on the promise that AI is going to do something that it may never do. It's the ultimate fake market. It's like what Exxon did selling futures. You sell. We're gonna have this many barrels of oil next year. We plan on it for sure. We're gonna pull that many barrels of oil out of the ground in the next year, and then they don't, and suddenly like, oops, my bad. We lost you a bunch of money. Oh well. They're selling you a
Yeah.
product that doesn't actually exist in the way that they plan to have it. There's nothing that AI can do that, the average human being like you or I, what use do you and I have for AI that we would be willing to pay for? That is a big question. And they don't have an answer for that. And that's
Yeah.
going to lose them all a bunch of money. And that's what this documentary gets wrong, is that he just immediately treats AI like a thing that's already here and already happening and transforming the world. And all AI is right now is just what they're promising. And that promise hasn't fulfilled in any way yet.
I feel like that's what a lot of our economy is built on right now, are
Fuck yeah.
promises.
Oh, yeah.
And, we're going to be able to do this and we're going to be able to do that. And you're not. We are in no way there yet with AI. I'm an artist and I fucking hate AI art. quote unquote, because it's ripping off of other artists, and you are not an artist. You are a prompter.
Hmm.
Um, they I I don't want to get into a long AI rant, but I want AI to do stuff for me that's useful, that, like
Hmm.
update my website for me whenever, cross post stuff for me that's not corrupted in some way. Um, like give me my monthly billing summary of what I need, what I owe on all my bills or something like that. I want stuff like that that's useful to artists, not just give me a picture of Aunt Gladys as Slimer from Ghostbusters in the style of Drew Struzan. That's
Yeah.
just fucking stupid and stealing. And now I kind of wish I had ChatGPT so I could put that in there, but I have to use my actual imagination, right? Um, yeah, it's not something that you have. It's something that you want, and um, there's nothing tangible about it right now as
Yeah.
far as you know
Exactly.
our uses for it. It's
Like
all stealing.
I was comparing it to a vacuum cleaner. You buy a vacuum cleaner and it cleans your house. Like that has a tangible thing. It has a purpose that you can use it for. Everybody needs one. Makes perfect sense to me. But AI, there's like you can't just buy a box and this box is AI and then the box will do things for you. Like it
Right.
doesn't work that way. You know, they've not come up with a singular purpose for AI that actually is something like ask yourself this: what would you pay AI to do? And I don't think anybody really has many good answers for that. Like it's a day planner, like it's something you like write your appointment. Oh, I have an appointment. That already exists. It's called a calendar. It's already in your email. Like, what is it that
Yeah.
AI can do for you that can't be done that way? Like on a practical level, somebody who works, in a service industry, if you're working at Walmart every day, you have a purpose to buy shoes. You don't have a purpose to buy AI.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
I just like I said, that's the biggest problem I have with this is that he just automatically leaps into AI is here. It's doing these things. It's the most important thing. It's a real thing. And it's just not. Like it's really, we got to stop granting them the premise that they've created something. They haven't created anything. They don't have anything that AI can currently do. I mean, Elon Musk keeps trying to tell us that he's got robots. AI robots, and he doesn't. The last time he
mhm.
tried to roll out robots, he had people in costumes still, like where people dress
Yeah.
up as robots, or they're like robots where people are following them around with like a a controller to keep them moving. Like this doesn't exist yet, folks, and it may never exist. They're selling you a
Yeah.
product. They're trying to sell us all on this product that's changing the world. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And actively, in the ways it does exist, it's actively making the world worse.
Mhm. I've had this conversation with people before about um, people who are claiming something is going to happen or is happening and it's not happening, and people are so want to believe it because they want their lives to be easier, that they will say, "Oh, yeah, of course." Right now there are robots that are doing jobs for people, and it's not true. It's like there are certain robots. Yes, we've had assembly lines and whatever, but that's just not. There's no Rosie the robot who's going to come and clean your house for you.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know. It
That's
pisses
why
me off.
that's why they keep trying to teach it art or to teach it music because those are not the because it can't do the tangible job that you would want it to do. I don't feel like walking my dog. Can I have this AI robot walk my dog? or something like that. Like the tasks that we don't want to do. I'd like to have somebody clean my toilet for me. AI is not going to clean your toilet. It
Hmm.
doesn't know how. But
Yeah.
like the bigger questions, like has anybody asked Grok how to fix the housing crisis or how to repair the economy? What is Grok's answer? Does Grok have an answer? Has AI fixed that? No, of course not. It doesn't have an answer. It just all it'll tell you is that, well, here's several different theories as to how that could be done, and those theories are coming from people who've already, the work that other people have already done in that field.
Yeah.
AI can't build you a house, but it can steal from Frank Lloyd Wright and build you an idea of a house.
Uh-huh.
Like they just, I worry sometimes, Jeff, that we took the wrong lesson from was it Exxon? Not Exxon. What was that company? Fuck, the oil company. Was it Exxon? The ones who were selling futures.
Oh, I mean,
Enron.
there's a lot. Yeah, Enron.
Enron.
Yeah.
We took the wrong lesson from Enron. We were supposed to learn that this idea of of building your economy on products that don't exist is a bad thing. Instead, a bunch of grifters looked at Enron and goes, "Damn, that's a pretty good idea. I could try to put that into my industry."
Yeah.
And weirdly enough, like the movie industry kind of had the first Enron with Canon Films. The way they would sell movies before the movie actually existed. Uh, they sold they sold an entire Spider-Man movie that never made it. Like it's
Well,
fucking hilarious.
yeah. I mean, that's yeah. There's a lot of that. Well, Friday the 13th was just an idea of the name. The
Mhm.
original Sean Cunningham just said, "You know what? We had Halloween. What's a scary sounding holiday movie?" And he said Friday the 13th, and he didn't even have a script for it. He just put it, coming soon, Friday the 13th. So,
Yeah, but I mean, that's all just based on the stock market, isn't it? Really, just the
yeah.
stock market is based on promises that may or may not come true, and maybe you get it right, maybe you don't. Maybe millions of people lose their jobs because we've given rich people all of this money to play with, and some of them don't know what the hell they're doing.
Hmm.
Many of them, really. The entire economy is built on a house of cards.
Well, and like everything, if you've ever been bad at a job and you're just trying to make it until you can find something else or you can
Mhm.
bullshit, fake it till you make it kind of thing.
Right.
And I've done that. I've had a job where I was completely out of my depth and I was just kind of like, oh yeah, I'll have it for you in 2 weeks. And that's kind of the that's kind of where we're at with AI and we're at with, you know, um, Congress and the president and all that, everything's it's all going to be great. It's all going to be great. Just wait and watch. And then you wait,
Mhm.
nothing happens. And you wait, nothing happens. It's just, it's so everything in this country is a house of cards.
Yeah. It's
So,
funny the way what you said there is kind of funny about people who are trying to fake it until they make it, and they keep just rising through the ranks, but almost by accident. It's like it's why Being There with Peter Sellers is one of the
uh-huh,
greatest movies ever made. He becomes president of the United States just by nodding his head, going, "Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
no." So it's a deep concern of ours. Like, just he has no idea what he's doing. He has no clue who he even is. He fails his way all the way to becoming the president. Fucking brilliant movie,
Mhm.
and way too meaningful in
Prescient.
this moment,
Yeah.
because I do wonder if this president actually did that.
Oh, he's
No
failed
intention of
upward.
being the president. He just kind of tripped his way there.
He has failed upward every time. I it just yeah.
Uh, of course, it could be the devil, Jeff. It could be the devil behind it all, which is the premise of our classic, which is called Rosemary's Baby, which is 1968, directed by an evil human being named Roman Polanski, who still, nevertheless, was a great artist at
Mhm.
one point in his life. He directed this under the under the umbrella of William Castle, interestingly enough, who had kind of
Mhm.
pushed this idea forward and wanted to direct this movie, but people said this is probably too good for a William Castle movie, which is both sad and true. Um, the uh, the idea is this couple is moving into a new apartment. The apartment is home to a group of people who worship the devil. Obviously, they don't know that, but the husband finds out seemingly right away, and is able to take advantage. And well, he basically just sells his wife to them as an incubator for the devil. Mia Farrow is the perfect star for this movie. She's just so sympathetic, but also just she just looks like this. She looks like almost like a scared child at
Yeah.
times, and it's impossible not to be afraid for her and hope that she can find her way out of this. And then you make Ruth Gordon the big bad in the movie, and it's like just such a wild choice to have, and just fucking genius. And then you've got just this incredibly precise direction, and I always choke a little bit when I'm praising people like Roman Polanski, but I mean the man had an incredible eye back in the day. His angles, his the very just every choice he makes with the camera and with the precision of what he's capturing in the frame, it just works to build and build and build on a story that is essentially just mostly about gaslighting both her and the audience into like, wait, is she crazy? Is she dreaming? Or is all this really happening? And that question just builds like a tea kettle that's about to explode, and then it does, and it's just like, wow, this is amazing.
Mhm.
I think this is one of the greatest movies ever made. Again, I do choke on that thinking of who directed it, but still.
Yeah, it's really hard when you've got somebody who, in some ways, was so sympathetic, after his wife was murdered, an
Mhm.
unborn child, um, who then turns around and rapes a 14-year-old, and exiles himself so that he doesn't face any prosecution. And you can't really look at like people on Epstein's list and say they're bad, and then not say that he's just as bad because it is just as bad.
Mhm.
Um, that being said, this I recently listened to this book because I'd never read it, and I was like, "Oh, well, it's available, and okay, sure, I'll listen to it." This movie is so close to the book that it's almost scary how close it is, and how he doesn't miss anything in the movie that is in the book, and it's very you while I was listening to it, I was picturing the visuals because I've seen this movie so many times, and like literally sat down and watched this movie probably as much as most of my favorite movies.
Mhm.
Um, to pick up on the performances and the direction and the art direction, everything. Um, and I that leads me to the direction of the movie and how it's just he must have really poured over this book and had an incredibly good screenplay because I couldn't think of anything that was really missing from the movie. And you read a book you really like, or there's a movie that you really love, and you finally read that book, and it's just like, oh, well, they totally skipped this and this and this. And I never ever got that impression. I got that they loved this book so much that they were really meticulous with it. Um, and I think that the best decision in this movie is Mia Farrow.
Mhm.
She was everybody's sweetheart at the time, uh, filming Peyton Place, the television show, soap opera. And because of that, she was kind of a star. Her mother was Maureen O'Sullivan. So she was kind of a Nepo baby, Hollywood royalty kind of thing. And everybody knew her because, her she was famous, her mom was famous, she was dating Frank Sinatra. um, and I I got that ne- like not being alive during when this movie came out, but seeing it, in the 80s, 90s, and up until now, I I really now that I know the story behind her and her life, it really was brilliantly cast because she was a sweetheart and very very well known for being a sweetheart, and she plays this woman who is literally being victimized and gaslit by her husband and everybody in her life, with the exception of one person. And then they take that person away, and she has no safe spaces in her entire life.
Mhm.
Uh, to talk about, that the fact that they have sacrificed her life to the devil and the life of her unborn child to bring him, bring Adrian into the world as the second coming of the devil. Um, it's just so brilliant. She's so brilliant in it, and the level of paranoia that builds from the time that she starts to suspect that something is going on, and it just to the point where you don't know if she's crazy. You don't know if this is all a dream. Um, if it's just where she's, you know, pregnancy hormones are making her crazy, and everybody around her is trying to be really nice. But by the time you get to the end of this movie, you're like, of course, there's no way that this could be, um, just a hallucination. And she
And then
pulls that
and then
off so
there's
brilliantly.
and then part of the key to that too is Ruth Gordon. I mean, because like,
Yeah.
you cannot possibly who suspects the elderly of anything? Uh, you don't, but
Well,
especially in the package of Ruth Gordon, it's like she just seems like this sweet old lady, and the thing about her, she's not even really hiding any of her malevolence. She's not really even hiding her intentions very well, but you underestimate her because she's just this little old lady.
yeah. Well, and even they're not actually like malevolent. They just,
Mhm.
it's like a Christian would be today if they thought they could bring Jesus back. They're just they worship a different god, and it happens to be Satan, and they're going to bring the son of Satan to life, and they figured out how to do it, and she's just a pawn. And Ruth Gordon, I don't think she's actually um she doesn't see herself as evil.
Mhm.
She doesn't, she
The
wants
best villains
power.
don't.
Yeah, she wants power, and that's great. She is married to a man who was basically just brought up in this, and she's an everyday New Yorker, and she actually loves Rosemary like a daughter. And I think that's why it's so scary, because she doesn't see anything wrong with what she's doing. She actually thinks that it's the right thing to do, and we all know that it's not. So that's
She's pushy. She
yeah.
not
Yeah, oh
when I
yeah.
say malevolent, she's really pushy and insistent, and
Yeah.
that's really kind of her evil, is that she's just getting in the way of this woman's life with grave intention, and
Yeah.
just having Ruth Gordon play that is a very smart
Mhm.
piece of casting. Um, the it's funny to think Cassavetes and Polanski hated each other, and weirdly enough, that tension works because he's a shitty
Mhm.
character anyway.
Yeah.
Like he's an asshole who just completely flips on his wife just immediately in order to get his career, and and it works that he's just kind of aloof and adrift at times, and kind of weaves back towards her when he feels engaged, and then drifts back when he knows he's going to get what he wants.
Yeah, and his aloofness towards her, and him poo-pooing everything she's trying to talk about it's so insidious, because we all know that something's going on, and he's just kind of like, "Oh yeah, it's fine. No, you're fine." He's gaslighting her and gaslighting the audience, and he is the only real truly, I think, evil character in this, because he's doing it all for the wrong reasons. I think.
Yeah.
He's
Well,
doing the
I mean,
worst for the worst reason.
yeah, because I mean, he doesn't even believe in the doubt. Like he's not
Yeah.
even really a true believer in the evil, but he's willing to take advantage of it. And when it does start to pay off for him, he's just so cowardly. He's craven.
Mhm.
Is the main thing about him, and willing to
He's
sacrifice others for himself.
he's Mike Johnson.
He made the
I'm
birth
gonna
of Trump possible.
yeah. Oh,
And the elderly are the Republican Party. Oh my God.
see, we're bringing it all back to politics, whether the listeners want to or not. Uh, oh, no,
This movie is
I
brilliant. It's a masterpiece, even in spite of the man who made it, and that really says something about it. Uh, how incredible a movie has to be to overcome the person who made it in this way.
mhm.
Because
And
I can't sit here and pretend it's not a masterpiece.
there's a lot of people that, oh, I can separate the art from the artist. I can't. I'll always see this as a Roman Polanski movie. Um, that being said, I'll also forever see it as a Mia Farrow vehicle.
Uh-huh.
Um, and that's who I concentrate on when I watch this is Mia Farrow and Ruth Gordon and, Ralph Bellamy, all these John Cassavetes. It's so brilliantly acted. It's not like the Harry Potter movies, like fuck J.K. Rowling and her transphobic bullshit. It's not
Mhm.
like her because that's not. I don't think any of that is great art.
No, I can't
I
watch those
also,
movies anymore.
I also don't feel like a lot of Woody Allen movies anymore are great art. There's a few of them that
Uh-huh.
yes, I can watch the movie and realize the brilliance of it, and it's mostly how the actors interact with each other.
Yeah. I find
But it
myself
doesn't.
very less tolerant of seeing him on screen, that's for
Oh
sure. Although
yeah, yeah.
I still think I'm behind Annie Hall, but I haven't watched it in a
hmm
while, so I don't know. I don't know.
I yeah. I don't. I see him and I'm like disgusted.
When we
Um.
did Broadway Danny Rose for movies of the '80s, I was like, "This sucks. This movie's a piece of shit,"
Yeah.
and because so much of it is wrapped up in just him.
hmm
It's yeah, it was hard. It was impossible to watch that movie and separate, especially he's also like there's a joke in that movie where he's, pretending to flirt with a 9-year-old and I'm like, fuck you. Fuck you, you fucking
Ugh.
prick. Which
Yeah.
granted that happened before. I don't know when he first got into trouble, but still. It's still
Yeah.
gross regardless. He thinks
Yeah.
that's okay.
I think he's disgusting. He's a disgusting human being. I can't watch the Cosby Show. I can't.
Yeah,
I
no,
can't.
never. That's
I
something of my childhood I had to give up, and that was very sad. But I'm
Yeah.
willing to give it up because I won't support monsters
hmm
if I can avoid it.
Um. I I don't feel like watching Rosemary's Baby is actually supporting Roman Polanski. I don't. I don't know if that's just like me not being able to let go, like Harry Potter fans can't let go of those books.
Yeah,
Um. And actually, like I don't mind the movies as much because they're so far from what she wrote, and they're. I feel like I'm supporting actors who hate her.
that's true. They've done a lot to redeem that.
So it's that's and I
I
don't really
understand.
watch
Like
the movies. Yeah.
I would never try and tell Harry Potter fans to give up Harry Potter because she's a horrible human being. Because those movies meant something to them, and they found something in them that goes beyond what she wrote,
hmm
far beyond what she wrote. And she didn't even realize what she was writing because what she
No.
wrote was about inclusion. It was about people coming together and working together and caring about each other and a diverse group of people at that. And for her to now be so divisive is just really against everything that she wrote.
There's
And so I
also some
understand.
incredibly racist shit in those books, though.
Mm, I've never
Kingsley
read them, so I have no
Shacklebolt.
idea.
So, well, he's in the movie too, but Kingsley Shacklebolt is the one black character,
Mm,
and his name is Shacklebolt.
mm,
Fuck you.
yeah, yeah.
Cho Chang. No, yeah, it's like, come on, really? Um, but yeah, I don't have a hard time giving up her writing,
Yeah, no,
supporting
I don't
any.
miss anything about that,
Yeah,
and I certainly don't care about that. I hope that HBO show gets canceled.
yeah,
I'm
and
not
also
watching the
fuck
second of
John
it.
Lithgow.
Hey, man, the
You
fuck,
know
dude?
that is so tone deaf, and he makes me not want to support his career anymore. by
And
oh,
I
it's
mean, he's done
she's
so many
been
great
this.
things, and it's sad to see him do
Yeah,
that. Anybody who's willing to work with her is suspect at this point.
she's been misunderstood. No, she fucking hasn't. She has told us millions of times that all of the profits that she makes from Harry Potter from now on and all her other bullshit are going towards anti-trans
Yeah. No, she's
stuff.
told us
So
exactly who she is.
she's a cunt.
Yeah.
But
No,
you know what?
she
She's
can
not a
go fuck
cunt.
right off.
She's not a cunt because she lacks the depth or the warmth. Okay.
Ah! Oh! Hi-oh!
That's an old quote. I think Tallulah Bankhead said that. But yeah, we love the movie, but I can't.
We all
I don't
have them.
support.
Like they're
Yeah,
like I know that somewhere like Bob doesn't want to give up lethal weapon, and I understand that
yeah,
it was special to him before he found out that Mel Gibson was a monster. I get that.
yeah.
I do. I've not missed looking back on Lethal Weapon. I'll probably have to soon, but I'm probably not going to watch it with the same kind of joy that I had before I knew he was a monster, because it does change things. Like Once Upon a Time in America. Do you know the story with this one? Have I
Well,
told you this story?
yeah. You were telling me last week, actually.
Yeah. Like Sergio Leone is a fucking monster, and I can't watch that movie the same way now. And it fucking pissed me off. It sucks that I can't watch that movie, because I think that movie, in many ways, the version the director's cut, was a brilliant work of art. And then you realize that he thinks it's okay for a man to rape a woman because she kissed him once. Like, fuck you. That's
Yeah,
disgusting. You're a disgusting person. The other rape victim, enjoyed it, so I guess that's okay too. Like, what the fuck, man? These are him talking, not me. He
yeah,
said these things out loud to people in 1984, and I wasn't paying attention in 1984. I had no way of knowing this. I found it out retroactively, and it's changed the way I watched the movie.
yeah. It's like that's the whole argument. Like men can't be raped if they get a hard on. That
Oh,
it's a
that's disgusting.
physiological response, and I just it's so horrible. It's just terrible. Like that kind of thinking is, oh, she enjoyed it, or the whole what was she wearing? That kind of thing just fucking
Oh,
pisses me off.
she
And
owed me because, she led me on. Fuck you.
yeah,
Fuck you. No,
yeah,
no, fuck you. She said, no, it's over. It's done. You're a rapist. Like
yeah,
you made her do something she didn't want to do. Like you're a bad person. And it just worries me that he carried that mindset into creating that scene. He wrote that scene. He acts as if the character enacted this scene, but he's the one who wrote it.
hmm,
And on top of that, he's talking about her. Well, actresses. You know what actresses are like. Fuck you. No, I don't know what actresses are like.
yeah,
That's such a garbage way. It makes me worried for anybody who worked with him as an actress, that he looked at actresses that way, as if they were all leading him on and not fulfilling his desire. Fuck you.
yeah. Well, and it's like stripping people of their humanity so you can justify your horribleness is just that is deviant, horrible behavior. So fuck
Yeah,
him.
no, it's fucking monstrous, and I can't look at his stuff the same way. And I didn't really have, other than Once Upon a Time in America, I wasn't a big spaghetti western person, so I'm not missing anything by letting go of those movies. But it's it's not even close to what to just the horrors that he's enacting. But it sucks for me personally that I don't get to
Hmm.
enjoy the thing that he created.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, fuck all those people.
Yeah, if anybody who wants to defend that shit and step up and say, well, it was a different time, or he's here to fuck you, fuck off, and it was wrong then, it's wrong now.
Yep.
It's not a negotiation. You're not being let off the hook this time. It's not defensible. None of that is
Right.
defensible. Uh, J.K. Rowling, Sergio Leone, none of that's defensible. Roman Polanski, it's not defensible. It's just not. Um, I it's but it's the compromise that all of us are making, because like as much like Once Upon a Time in America I can let go of, because it's literally his crime is literally there in the movie. Uh Rosemary's Baby is such a perfect film. I just want so badly to pretend he's not there. Um, and that's a moral failing on me. I understand that. I understand that.
Yeah.
But I also understand that there are people who have an emotional connection to Harry Potter that means more to them beyond what, anything that J.K. did. They read something, they found something in that is emotional to them. I would never ask you to give that up.
Yeah. And you gotta look, you're the one who has to sleep at night.
Yeah,
And if you're fine with, J.K. Rowling, if you really love the Harry Potter movies and you want to see that, you know what? Go buy them secondhand. Um, don't stream them. Don't buy them new because she's using that money for
to do
um
active harm to people.
to do active harm to people. Yes, exactly. So
All right, Jeff, we'll need to come up with a classic, but Faces of Death is coming out next week. And a movie called Exit 8, as well as Outcome starring Keanu Reeves. Who knows which ones we're going to actually get around to. You and Me in Tuscany is a movie also coming out that I know I will be seeing because it's the one I'm being paid to see. But
hey, unless somebody wants to pay me to see it, I'm not being paid to see it. We'll see though.
So yeah, that's the lineup. But Jeff has already shot down my idea of the Diane Lane Under the Tuscan Sun classic. So
Yeah,
sorry,
I
folks.
will. I will literally fucking quit the show. You know what? I'll tell you what. If somebody wants to donate $50, I will watch Under the Tuscan Sun twice.
Go to our Patreon and donate $50, and Under the Tuscan Sun will be our classic. But if you don't, then it's not.
Then I'm going to pick something that nobody likes. It will not be the original Faces of Death because that's just I don't need to watch that.
It's not even a documentary or a movie for that matter.
Yeah,
They are all on
so,
YouTube. If you're somebody who wants to know what Faces of Death is, and you have a strong stomach, because it is gross. Or regardless of how much of it is fake, it's pretty gross.
yeah. I remember watching the videotape and not and just being, oh my god, that was so real. And then when I looked at Rotten.com in the '90s and early 2000s, I was like, oh fuck, that really was real. And honestly,
Yeah, so there's that.
I watched a beheading video one time and I still can see that in my head and I would never ever tell somebody to do something like that. So
No, no,
don't watch
I
that kind
actually
of
got
shit.
I got traumatized by one of those TikToks where a guy blows his head off. Like that, I got that on my feed one time, and it's like, wow, that's just tremendously fucked up.
Well, and when that movie Christine came out with Rebecca Hall,
Yeah.
about
Oh
the
God. Yeah.
and people were like, "Where can we see this footage?" And I was like, "What's fucking wrong with you? Like, why would you want to see somebody actually kill themselves?"
That is a weird, but I at the same time I am the same guy who will also watch super morbid shit on YouTube.
I'll watch
Like
super
I
morbid
I
fake
I
shit.
have watched autopsy photo videos on YouTube. I can't pretend that I haven't. It is a morbid curiosity that I cannot escape.
Well, that's a moral failing on your part, Sean. I'm just kidding. I've done the same thing. Um,
Yeah. The crime scene photos of Whitney Houston's hotel room, like it's disturbing. It's disturbing as hell, but like I couldn't not look at that.
I've never seen those. I haven't done that.
Don't
But
do it.
I
Don't do
I was fascinated for a while by like vintage Hollywood crime scene photos.
Yeah.
That was fascinating to me because it's like, oh, it's like LA Confidential, but real. That kind of, the Black Dahlia. Like everybody who's into true
Ugh.
crime at one point has seen those photos, and
You have to. If you're in the Black Dahlia thing, you've got to know what that. It's so disturbing. It's
and
so
those are
disturbing.
literally published in the newspaper. So
Yeah, which is wild to think. It's just wild to think what they would publish back in the day.
even as recently as the 80s, I remember our grandmother had the Inquirer and stuff, and I think that's the first time I ever heard of a Black Dahlia is when they did the unredacted photos because when they were in the newspaper in the 40s, they were you know how like they would go and they would draw stuff on the
Sure.
photos and they were that, but then I remember in the 80s seeing, I think it was the Inquirer or the Star Weekly World News, something like that at grandma's house that had the unredacted photos.
Oh
But
yeah,
of course I looked at those.
the Inquirer used to run photos, the casket photos. Like
Oh
I think
yeah,
when
Elvis.
Elvis died, like they had a picture of Elvis in his casket, and it was like on the cover of the
Yeah,
fucking Inquirer. It's like that's really weird. That's wild. I can't believe you published that.
they did it when Michael Jackson died. They ran, you know, his him on the stretcher.
Oh God,
Yeah,
they did,
it's
didn't they?
yeah.
Oh man, wow. Well, this got weird.
Yeah, we started weird, but we ended up weirder.
Faces of Death next week, folks. Aren't you excited?
Yeah. All right. Well,
Thanks,
until
Jeff.
then, have a good night.
Have a pleasant night, everybody. Is it? We're all gonna die, and Faces of Death is coming.
We will be the faces of death. Um,
Thanks, Trump.
yep, exactly. Thanks, Obama.
See you, Jeff.
See ya.